everyone, welcome back to youtube.com/Margo Kamaya. I'm your host, Margo, and please don't forget to subscribe, like the video, share the video, and if you have additional insights, kindly add them in the comment section. Okay, so for today's episode, I'd like to share with you some of the books that I have collected that are being published by Vibal publishing company. It's a Philippine local publishing company that specializes in textbooks, in cultural books, societal books, historical books. They've come out with a lot of excellent, historical books in the past few years. And there is this particular series, they call it More Than We Admit. It's insights into Philippine cultural history. So a lot of Filipinos, not just Filipinos, but even people from outside the Philippines, they tend to get confused of how to categorize maybe Filipinos. Are we Asian? Are we Pacific Islander? Because again, when you take a look at the Philippines geographically, we're not really part of mainland Asia. We're somewhere in the Pacific Ocean, but when you go to the Philippines, there's a lot of ethnicities that are common. You have Filipino Chinese, you have Filipinos who have Spanish blood, right? Filipinos who has American blood, Filipinos who have Malay blood. Okay? So often than not, that is the big question regarding who the Filipinos are. What is essentially our identity? And it's a very complex question, no? Even the answer, there's a lot of eccentricities or intricacies involved in answering that particular question. And what I like about what Vibal Publishing did was when they came up with More Than We Admit series, it tackled the different parts of being a Filipino. Right. So the first, currently there are 6 books in this particular More Than We Admit series. So the first 3 books focuses on the Hispanic influences, the Hispanic origins of Filipinos. And when you say Hispanic, it's not really the Spain, because during the time of the Spanish colonial period, most of our influences, most of the connections, the networking that we had were through Mexico. We were actually part of, being ruled by by the Spanish Mexico government at the time. It started when Miguel Lopez de Legazpi arrived here in the Philippines, and ended by 1820 when the last Spanish galleon, arrived from Acapulco, and that was also the time that Mexico gained their independence from Spain. So just imagine for 250 years, our direct contact really was from Mexico, and that's where Hispaniola, or the Hispanic origin of our of being a Filipino can be traced, right? So the first 3 books, again, there are 3 volumes under the More Hispanic Than We Admit, right? So this is the first book that they came up with in the Hispanic series, right? This was edited by Isaac Donoso. So there are several articles, research articles. Here, this is an example of it. Okay. And most of the authors here are prominent in terms of Spanish Philippines. No? You have Father Jose Arcilla, SJ. You also have an article by Fernando Zialcita, right? You have Regalado Trota Jose. He talks about Baroque and Revolt in Bohol. So a lot of church history there. He's known for it. You also have Ambet Ocampo tackling Wenceslao Retana. Sorry, Wenceslao Retana is being tackled by Gloria Cano. Ambet Ocampo wrote about rotten beef and stinking fish, Rizal in the writing of Philippine history. And you also have Rizal B. Mojares claiming Malines. Okay, so, and then of course you also have Nick D. Ocampo, Hispanic influences on Tagalog cinema. So, well-packed, no? Research articles or articles regarding being more Hispanic. The second volume, unfortunately, I have not been able to purchase the second volume. I'm trying to look for a copy of it. It has eluded me for the past few months. Okay? But the third one, this is actually the very recent addition to the More Than We Admit series. This is volume 3 of More Hispanic Than We Admit, the Quincentennial edition, so 1521 to 1820, edited by Jorge Mojaro. Right? So the focal points or articles here surrounds Magellan, Lapu-Lapu, you have Legazpi, you have Raja Tupas, what else? Colonial Spanish, Philippine literature. So you have articles written by Gaspar Vibal, you have Carlos Madrid, Luciano P.R. Santiago writes about the Brown Knight, right? The rise and fall of Don Nicolas de Herrera. You also have Feliz Prudente Santa Maria talking about influences of pioneering Hispano-Christian evangelization in the Philippines. And the Tupas article was written by William Henry Scott. So this is the third volume in the More Hispanic Than We Admit. Okay? And then the next one, this one I've truly enjoyed reading the articles here. Okay? More Pinay Than We Admit. Okay? And this is edited by Maria Luisa T. Camagay. So the articles posted here or published here in this edition is all geared, centering on the Filipina women. So let me just give you a couple of articles and who those writers are, or social historians. You have, of course, Maria Luisa T. Camagay talking about working women of Manila in the 19th century. I like this actually article. And then you also have Belinda Aquino writing about Filipino women and political engagement. Right? Let's see who else. We have Rolando B. Tolentino, who wrote about globalizing national domesticity, female work and representation, and contemporary women's films. So that's Rolando Tolentino writing about that. So more Pinay Than We Admit. Okay? Next one is we have, so very controversial right now, More Chinoy Than We Admit. Okay? So a lot of Filipinos have, Chinese blood in their DNA. And this is a very thick volume. Most of this books ranges from 540 pesos to 699. The Quincentennial one, the More Hispanic Than We Admit, volume 3, is actually the most expensive one. It also comes into two styles. You have the softbound, which is at $699. That's the one that I have. And then the hardbound is, I think it's at 899 pesos. Okay? So More Chinoy Than We Admit, Chinese-Filipino interactions over the centuries. This was edited by Richard T. Chu. So you have Milagros Guerrero talking about the political background. You have Richard T. Chu wrote about the Chinese and the mestizos of the Philippines. You have Caroline S. Howe, Conditions of Visibility, Resignifying the Chinese-Filipino and Manopo and Crying Ladies. That's very interesting. So I'm gonna put that in my to be read, no? Because technically I just received this yesterday. Or sorry, not yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. I just received it from mail. More Chinoy than we admit. These books can be found mostly in, I've seen a lot of copies, or I've seen sporadically copies in Fully Booked in their Filipiniana section, and then also Popular Bookstore, which is located in Quezon City. But not most, but all of my Vibal books, actually, I've bought them through their online bookstore, shop.vibalgroup.com. And finally, we have More Islamic Than We Admit. Right? So this was again edited by Isaac Donoso. So the articles are Southeast Asia in Classical Islamic Cartography, that's so about mapping, about maps, right? Francisco Franco Sanchez. This one is interesting. Mudehar, Reflections in the Philippines. Edgar Mar A. Castro. So what do you mean by Mudehar? It's a specific Spanish term for Moors. So when you say Mudehar, it's more of the Spanish Muslims or Spanish Moors. For those who are not familiar with Spanish history, before the 1500s, before Queen Isabella I and Ferdinand, before Queen Isabella I and Ferdinand of Aragon, because it's Queen Isabella of Castile and then Ferdinand of Aragon, before they got married and they joined their kingdoms, I'm not sure if it was Castile or Aragon who was under the Muslim influence. So that's why when you go to Spain, there's a lot of Moorish. That was the old term, Moorish influences, and they call it Mudehar. Right? So Mudehar can be used like when you say Mudehar designs or Mudehar influences in architecture. It specifically points to that particular region in Spain. So you're talking about Spanish Muslim influences. Right? So More Islamic Than We Admit. We have More Chinoy Than We Admit. More Pinay Than We Admit. And the More Hispanic Than We Admit. So hopefully I'll be able to get the volume 2 of More Hispanic Than We Admit. And I will let you know once I get a copy. I'm going to share that with you as well. Right? So thank you very much for joining me in this episode. I hope you like this particular episode. Again, please don't forget to subscribe to youtube.com/MargoCamaya. Like the video, share the video, and if you have additional insights, kindly type them in on the comment section. So thanks everyone, stay safe, take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye!